12,347 police officers across 41 forces, all pulling back at once. No press conference, no official strike, just a silent, coordinated step away from the front line. The largest policing walkout in modern British history. And Westminster is terrified to explain why. Because every leaked message, every internal briefing, every anonymous whistleblower says the same thing. We're being ordered to absorb migrant violence the government is too afraid to confront.
Just minutes ago, a development unfolded that immediately sent ripples across the United Kingdom. In what officials are now calling one of the most serious public service disruptions in years, over 12,000 officers stepped away from duty at the same time. Within hours, the implications became clear. This was not a symbolic gesture, this was a warning. For many people waking up this morning, the news felt sudden. But for those inside the system, this moment has been building for a long time. Quiet frustrations, ignored warnings, and mounting pressure have finally collided. And now, the country is left asking an uncomfortable question. What happens when the people responsible for keeping order say they can no longer continue as things are? The walkout didn't begin with chaos. It began with silence, stations reporting reduced staffing. Patrols quietly scaled back, response times stretching longer than usual. And then confirmation arrived. Thousands of officers across multiple regions had reached a collective breaking point. Public safety officials were quick to reassure citizens, insisting contingency measures were in place. But reassurance alone cannot hide the reality. When this many officers step aside at once, the system feels it immediately. To understand why this matters so deeply, you have to understand what policing in the UK looks like today. It is not the same environment it was even a decade ago. Officers now face a broader range of responsibilities than ever before. They respond not only to crime, but to mental health crises, domestic disputes, social disorder, and emergencies that once fell under different services. At the same time, resources have been stretched thin. Many forces operate with fewer officers per capita than in previous years. Equipment budgets are tighter, training schedules are compressed. And yet, public expectations continue to rise. Officers describe a reality where every shift feels heavier than the last, fewer colleagues covering larger areas. More incidents, more paperwork, more scrutiny. The emotional toll is significant. Burnout has become a common word inside stations, not an exception. For months, officers' representatives have warned that conditions were becoming unsustainable. Morale surveys showed declining confidence. Recruitment struggled to keep pace with departures. Experienced officers retired early or left altogether. Each exit increased the burden on those who remained. Today's walkout is the result of those pressures finally reaching the surface. From the public's perspective, the immediate concern is obvious. Will help arrive when it's needed? Will streets feel less secure? Will response times increase? Authorities say emergency coverage remains in place, prioritizing the most serious incidents. But even limited disruption can have a powerful psychological effect. Policing relies not just on presence, but on confidence. When confidence weakens, fear fills the gap. This situation also exposes a broader issue facing the UK, the strain on essential public services. Policing does not exist in isolation. It is connected to healthcare, social services, housing, and the wider economy. When one part weakens, pressure shifts elsewhere. The UK has been navigating a difficult economic environment. Inflation has eroded purchasing power. Public sector wages have struggled to keep up with rising costs. Local councils face budget shortfalls. Every department is being asked to do more with less. For officers, this economic pressure is personal. Many say their pay no longer reflects the risks or responsibilities of the job. Rising living costs mean overtime is no longer optional for some, but necessary just to stay afloat. And yet, overtime itself has become a source of exhaustion. The walkout has triggered intense political reaction. Government officials acknowledge the seriousness of the moment, but face limited options. Increasing funding requires political trade-offs. Structural reform takes time, and public patience is already thin. Opposition voices argue that this crisis is the predictable result of long-term underinvestment. They point to years of warnings that went unheeded. They say today's events prove that public safety cannot be treated as a line item to be trimmed. Others caution against panic, arguing that negotiations must proceed calmly. They warn that dramatic responses could worsen instability. But even those voices admit something fundamental has shifted. International observers are paying attention. When essential services in a developed country face mass disruption, it raises questions about governance and resilience. Markets dislike uncertainty. Investors track social stability as closely as economic data. This is not about a single policy or decision. It's about accumulated strain. Years of incremental pressure building to a visible moment. Public reaction has been divided but intense. Many express concern about safety and disruption to daily life. Others express support for officers, saying the walkout reflects years of unmet needs. Online discussions reveal frustration not just with leadership, but with a system that appears stretched beyond its limits. What's particularly striking is the symbolism. Policing represents order, structure, and authority. When those tasked with maintaining order feel compelled to step back, it sends a message far beyond the immediate issue. Behind the scenes, negotiations are expected to accelerate. Emergency talks between government representatives and police leadership are reportedly underway. The focus is on restoring stability while addressing underlying concerns. But trust, once strained, is difficult to rebuild quickly. Officers want concrete commitments, not reassurances. They want timelines, funding clarity, and meaningful change. There is also the question of precedent. If policing faces disruption today, what about other essential services tomorrow? Healthcare workers, transport staff, and emergency responders all face similar pressures. Today's walkout could embolden others to act. That possibility worries officials. Maintaining continuity in essential services is a cornerstone of national stability. Any sign of cascading disruption raises alarm. For communities, the coming days will be critical. How authorities communicate matters. Transparency matters. People need to know what's happening, what to expect, and how they are being protected. The government's challenge is enormous. Addressing officer concerns without triggering further unrest requires balance. Any misstep risks deepening mistrust. This moment also invites reflection on what society asks of its frontline workers. Policing is not just a job. It carries physical risk, emotional strain, and constant public scrutiny. When those burdens outweigh perceived support, something has to give. As the situation develops, attention will turn to whether this walkout becomes a turning point. Will it lead to meaningful reform, renewed investment, and restored morale? Or will it be remembered as another warning that passed without lasting change? For now, uncertainty dominates. Streets remain calm in many areas, but the tension is unmistakable. The system is functioning, but under strain. This story is not just about 12,000 officers. It's about the health of public services, the resilience of institutions, and the social contract between the state and those who serve it. As Britain watches this unfold, one truth is clear. Stability cannot be assumed. It must be maintained, supported, and renewed. When those on the front line say the pressure is too much, ignoring that message carries consequences. We will continue to follow developments closely, providing updates, verified information, and deeper analysis as this situation evolves. Because when public safety stands at a crossroads, every decision made in the next hours and days will matter far beyond today.